I just bought this boat, even though the seller said it was mechanically totaled and that nobody could fix it. I took the risk because it's not just a boat, it's a Boston whaler. These boats are built to last and hold their value. It all started when I was looking for a Boston whaler for Jack, my wife, and me to enjoy time on the water together. I started looking at boats at the Miami International Boat Show. Unbelievable. Every type of boat you can imagine. Of course, I had to stop by one of my favorite brands, Boston Whaler. But after seeing those prices, I told myself there's got to be another way. So I opened my loyal friend Facebook Marketplace, and with a little luck and patience, I found one for under $3,500. Without thinking twice, we drove about an hour to pick it up. And when we got there, I felt the best feeling you can have when buying a used boat. The boat had actually been stored inside a garage. That's when I knew this drive was definitely worth it. We paid, signed the paperwork, put some air in the tires, and headed back to Rob's garage. Now it's time to see what I really got myself into and what's actually wrong with this engine, starting with this bucket of parts that I got with the boat. But that brings me to the main problem with this engine. If you try to push the engine, it doesn't move. That means that the steering is completely frozen up. Now, let's examine all the parts we got in this bucket. I know that this is definitely not anything we need for the fuel pump. This looks like the float, and this looks like the pressure regulator. But look how rusty it is. That doesn't look very confidence inspiring. I guess we got some of the other parts here, which doesn't look too good. Yeah, that's the wiring for the fuel pump. Definitely needs to be replaced because it's really hard and brittle. And then this is the VST housing. Well, this might be a problem. Look at the plug for the fuel pump. Now, I don't know what type of person took this out, but they certainly had a little bit of an aggressive hand, because look how broken this is. All the pins are bent, and even the plastic piece that holds it into the aluminum housing is completely broken off. This little yellow plastic piece is actually a major problem. Now, I have no idea why the previous owner or mechanic that tried to work on this decided to take this out and break all the pins off of it, but that's something we have to deal with now. Since almost all of this is not even usable, and I actually noticed that even the float is broken, we're just gonna put all this stuff away, back in the bucket, and see what we can come up with. After searching it up, I realized that a brand new VST is gonna run me about $1,000. That's like 20% of the whole cost of the engine brand new. That makes no sense to me. I went on eBay, and actually I ended up finding a great deal on a used one. But for $349, it definitely beats paying $1,000 for a new one. Before we get the fuel pump, I want to see if I can at least attempt to crank the engine with some starting fluid and see if it does something.
Hey, runs.
That sounded terrible. It runs. Well, the trim is not supposed to sound like that. Oh boy. After hearing how poorly the trim motor sounds, and the fact that the engine doesn't sound the greatest either, since I do hear some sort of metallic rattling coming from the lower unit, hopefully nothing major, this might not actually be the best deal that I've gotten. But we're going to keep pushing on and see if we can fix all the issues for under $3,000, because if it costs more than that, I could have probably just bought a boat that ran already. So, wish me luck. Wait a minute. Is this really going backwards? It looks like someone put the trim button upside down. I can't even believe that. That's why if you have a mechanic working on your boat, you always want to make sure that they're qualified. And why I stress that the best mechanic is sometimes yourself, because at least if you damage it, you know what you did and you can fix it. So after waiting a couple of days, guess what just arrived? Our VST. So now we can put this on the motor and hopefully get the engine to run continuously. Just finished hooking up the fuel pump and all the hoses. I think we're ready to hook up some gas now and see if this engine is actually a good running engine. Hey, almost there. All right, I think we're so close for it to start. We just got to keep trying a couple more times because it's getting rid of all the air that's trapped in the fuel injectors. Hey, look at that. Oh. Come on. Stay running. Well, it's great news. The engine is actually running, but it's missing. And I can hear it, and you can tell just by how the engine is shaking that it's not running on all 3 cylinders. We're gonna do my favorite test and unplug each injector until we hear no difference, which that'll tell us what cylinder is misfiring. Which makes no difference. Oh, maybe it did. The engine is doing something a little strange. When you unplug one injector, the engine will actually increase in RPM, which makes no sense because the injector is unplugged until it eventually decreases. After thinking about it a little bit, that means that the engine is probably running way too rich, and I can definitely smell that there's a lot of unburned fuel coming out of the exhaust. So that can only mean one thing. The computer is injecting way too much fuel in the engine, and I did this on all the injectors and they all did about the same thing. We're gonna have to go in and actually see what's going on and why the computer decides to inject too much fuel into this engine. While I was checking out the motor, and as you see the motor is still currently running, I noticed that it was really cold, which it shouldn't be since it was running for about 10 minutes. So I took one of my cheap infrared thermometers and started checking out the temperatures. As you can see, the engine is running at only 78 degrees, which is way too cold since the outside air temperature is around 70 degrees after running for 10 minutes. The only thing that can cause that issue is the thermostat being stuck open and the engine's getting way too much cooling. Even though 70 degrees doesn't sound cold, the engine should operate between 140 to 160 degrees or somewhere around that. The thermostat on this motor is located right here, so we're going to take that off and see what's going on inside. It looks like someone's greased these bolts. It's also important to remember if you're taking out a thermostat on your motor, which you should be doing at least yearly or every other year to check it, that you put grease on the bolts because a lot of times these bolts won't come out. The thermostat should be behind this little cover, so let's see what's going on. Oh, there's no thermostat in this engine. Well, that's why it's not getting hot. My guess is someone probably took the old thermostat out and never put a new one back in, thinking that it's better for the engine to run cool. Now, in some cases, yes, the engine is better running colder than if it's overheating, but I will tell you one thing. Since this engine is fuel injected and it has sensors checking the temperature of the engine, you definitely don't want to run this engine without a thermostat. It's never going to run correctly if it doesn't get up to its specified temperature that the computer is programmed to look for and for the engine to run at. So always put a thermostat back in place and don't run the engine without a thermostat. After making a quick trip to the store, they actually had the part that I needed, which only cost me 19 bucks. So I can put it on and hopefully that'll fix our lack of heat. And if you've never seen a thermostat before, here's the new one. Now, the way a thermostat works is actually pretty cool. The engine thermostat regulates temperature by opening and closing as coolant flows through it. When the engine heats up, the thermostat opens to let coolant circulate and keep temperature stable. Inside the thermostat is a wax element that controls this movement. But if the engine overheats, the wax can boil and fail, causing the thermostat to stay open and stop working correctly. That's why an engine thermostat should always be replaced if an engine overheats. It's been so cold these last couple of days. It was even colder in South Florida than it was in Alaska last night. But we're heading in the right direction. It seems like the engine is running a little bit better, but there's still one little issue. That rattling noise coming from the lower unit is bothering me. The problem with this lower unit, I think, is actually nothing at all, except a lack of experience when someone was putting the water pump together. Looking closer, I realized that there's a metal plate right here that's rattling with the exhaust as the engine runs. Turns out it's probably nothing at all, except a loose little metal plate. Let's go through the other problems next. We gotta address the real reason why this engine was completely written off in the first place, and that is the extremely expensive repair that I'm gonna perform, but it's not gonna cost me hardly anything. The problem, as you remember earlier, was that the motor doesn't turn, and that's because this right here is all rusted and frozen up. Now we're gonna have to take it all apart, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. To be able to access the motor mount, which holds this steering tube on, we have to take this cover off. Ooh. That's not good. This bolt was so corroded in there that it almost broke off, but lucky enough I was able to get it out. That's always a good tip if you have a bolt that's stuck, is to tighten it a little bit and then loosen it and work it back and forth instead of just trying to loosen it all the way, because a little bolt like this will more than likely break off. It was so corroded since no one ever put grease on it, just like the steering tube. And there we go. Since we have to take the lower unit off anyways to remove this stuck plate and to get the drive shaft out of the way, we got to raise it up. But since this trim motor just broke completely, we're going to have to raise it up manually. So we're going to access this little bypass right here, unscrew it so we can relieve the pressure and push it up manually. For safety, we have to put this up so we can actually prevent the motor from coming down and crushing our hand. That was the noise that we were hearing, everyone. Well, hey, at least we figured out one problem. I guess we finally figured out what was causing that rattling noise that I thought the lower unit was making. It turns out it was just this little plate that was loose and broke. After looking at this briefly, I realized that I'm gonna have to take this whole engine apart to get access to this pivot tube. Let's take it apart and fix it. Well, it looks like I forgot to drain the oil because it's already starting to come out as soon as I loosen this bolt. So let's do that first before we make a gigantic mess. Just like that, in 3 minutes, we drained all the oil out of the engine. Now we can remove the shift shaft, which is only removable when you pull the power head off. And you can see why. Now it's a miracle that I got those nuts off because usually they don't come off. And that's the hardest part about doing a job like this. And it's probably why the previous shop or mechanic quoted so high to fix this engine, because just that alone will take sometimes a couple hours or even a day. But lucky for us, the nuts came off and we were able to get the motor mount off in one piece. Finally, that might be the reason why it doesn't turn. After multiple attempts, we managed to remove the pivot tube. It was difficult because the rust caused the tube to expand, making it hard to get out. The job didn't take too long, but it required a lot of patience. Now that everything has been removed, we'll sand, paint, and restore all the components of the pivot assembly to bring it back to proper working condition. Now we put it on the lathe so we can clean up the shaft and get all the rust off so it turns nice and easy. So this is what the tube looks like after many hours of grinding, sanding, and cleaning. It's finally ready to go back in the engine, and I guarantee when we put it back, it's gonna turn nice and smooth. Should easily rotate, which, look at that. So now that we made sure that it spins freely, we're gonna put a little grease and reinstall the steering pivot arm. Just like that. Now we gotta put a little grease on the tube itself. Make sure this doesn't happen ever again. Oh, look at it, nice. How easy that goes in. And we just gotta line it up. Kind of like that. Check that out. That's nice. Look how easy it turns now. We got the midsection back on, and all we gotta do is put the rest of the stuff back together. We're going to be using a little bit of anti-seize and grease to make sure that all the nuts and bolts will come off freely in the future. To not bore you with putting it all back together, as you saw me take it apart, here you go. After finally installing the new gasket and putting the power head back on, also removing all the steering components, taking them apart, cleaning everything, degreasing everything, and installing them, the motor now turns and is mostly put back together. And you don't even need a hammer to turn the engine anymore. Now we gotta change the other thing that was mechanically totaling this engine, and that would be the trim motor. Now that we lifted the motor off the transom and got the trim to the acceptable position where we can take the motor off, we gotta put a drain pan underneath, because guess what? A ton of oil is gonna leak out of this thing as soon as we take those bolts off. And there's the bolt. If you guys can tell, the oil's starting to leak out, but if you notice something, the oil is red and it's milky, which is not supposed to be milky. It's probably red because somebody used automatic transmission fluid, since usually trim fluid is clear or caramel color. So my guess is this thing had a leak and water got in, and that's why it sounds so bad, because water got in the motor and completely destroyed it. Let's get the new trim motor that I just purchased on the Jungle website, and it was only $80. Now we have to add some fluid, and we're going to be doing that with this bottle. And no, it's not a honey bottle, it's actually hydraulic fluid, which works for this system. So we're just going to add the fluid until it starts to pour out, which we know then it's full, and then we just have to cycle it a couple times. All right, so now we have to add the cap. We have a small 12-volt battery that we can test the trim motor to make sure it works before we put it all back on. There we go. That sounds a lot better. That's better. It's time for the true test. At least the steering, that is. Check this out. Yep, nice and easy. Now let's put the lower unit back on, and luckily for me, the one thing that the previous owner did do right is he changed the water pump impeller. I actually inspected it and it's perfect, so I put it back together and there's no reason to replace it. This looks pretty weird. I was cleaning up the shaft and I noticed what looked like grease, but for some reason I think someone put RTV on this shaft. So we're going to clean all this stuff up and put some grease on it, just like how it's supposed to have. After fixing all the problems, at least that I know of, let's add some oil and see if the engine will actually start again. And since we basically did an oil change, you should definitely always change the oil filter while you're doing that. Now we're going to install this new mercury oil filter, so we make sure that we have nice clean oil going to that engine, because we definitely don't want to blow it up after all the work we did. We got fuel, we got power, and we got the lower unit back on. I think this motor is going to fire right up, but let me know down in the comments if you think it's going to fire the first time I turn the key. Hey, look at that. I can't believe it. The boat is working great. I'm so happy that we were able to fix this boat on a small budget and not have to spend $60,000 on a new Boston whaler to have fun with my family. Luckily for us, the boat is already in great condition. All it really needs is some time spent on cleaning and detailing. After cleaning up the motor a little bit, I noticed that it has a ton of white paint overspray. So the easiest way to remove that is use a little bit of fine sandpaper and wet sand it. I'm pretty sure it's going to look really good. After the final polish and putting in the work to make this boat look brand new, it's finally time. Let's take it out and see what it can do. I couldn't be happier with the outcome. The boat looks amazing and runs perfectly. If you like this video, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.